Why are you up so early on a Friday? This is not a big deal. This is an image being painted as it was done before. It's comprised of lies and defamation, and some media are working to present an image that isn't true. We are really strong. The country is really strong because of you. Why? Because of God and because of you. So don't worry about anything. Do not worry about anything.
Zimbabwe's longtime ruler Robert Mugabe will be buried in his home district of Zvimba and not at the National Heroes Shrine in Harare. CGTN's Farai Makutuya has more on that.
Robert Mugabe's body left his Blue Roof mansion in Harare on Thursday evening for Zimba, where a private burial ceremony is expected over the weekend. The Mugabe family had previously said it was the long-time leader's desire to be laid to rest at his rural home some 80 kilometers from the capital, Harare. Those wishes have now prevailed following a public tussle with government over where the country's founding leader would be laid to rest. A planned burial on Sunday, the 15th of September, was called off to allow for the construction of a mausoleum at the National Heroes Acre after it looked like an agreement had been reached to have him buried there. The change of plans is seen as an indication of the tensions that still existed between Mugabe and his successor, Emmerson Mnangagwa, over the manner in which the former leader was forced out of office in November 2017. Farai Mwakutuya, CGTN, Harare, Zimbabwe.
Iranian President Hassan Rouhani says the United States wanted to hold bilateral talks while he was in New York for the UN General Assembly. Speaking on his return to Tehran, Rouhani said he rejected the request and insisted the talks should include all the countries that negotiated the 2015 nuclear deal. Rouhani also said talks were out of the question while the Trump administration maintained its sanctions and maximum pressure against Iran. Meanwhile, Trump has tweeted saying no to Iran's demands for lifting of sanctions before a meeting could be held. The Swedish owner of a British-flagged oil tanker detained by Iran says the ship has been released. The company says Stena Impero has now left the Iranian port of Bandar Abbas, where it had been held for 2 months. The detention was widely seen as a tit-for-tat move after Britain detained an Iranian tanker in Gibraltar for allegedly planning to transport oil to Syrian refinery. The UK released the Iranian tanker last month. Meanwhile, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson says he will comply with the recently passed law that compels him to seek an extension on Brexit if he's not reached an agreement by October the 19th. But he says he still thinks Britain can leave the European Union next month.
You know, we will obey the law, but we're confident we can come out on October the 31st. And the best way to do that is to get a deal.
Johnson has called the new law a surrender act, saying it has made his task of negotiating with the European Union much harder. Meanwhile, EU Brexit negotiator Michael Barnier is meeting with British representatives in the hope of breaking the Brexit deadlock. The stumbling block to a deal is a so-called Irish backstop, which is aimed at preventing a hard border between EU member Ireland and the UK territory of Northern Ireland. Well, China's positive influence is greatly being felt here in Africa. In Ethiopia, the Chinese support has played a key role in the country's infrastructural development. The capital, Addis Ababa, boasts a light rail system, their impressive dams for hydroelectric power generation, and a high-speed rail connection to Djibouti. CGTN's Giram Chala brings us more details.
Ethiopia follows an agriculture-led industrial policy. The plan is designed for the industry to ultimately take the lead, and the progress so far is remarkable. Close to 10 fully operating and dozen more private and government-owned industrial parks are found across the country. Even by continental standards, this is quite significant.
We usually indicate in Ethiopia as a very good model for industrial development in Africa. Ethiopia, in a few years, less than 10 years, achieved a big leap for developing industrialization. And by the economic indicator, Ethiopia is one of the fast, really, development of industrial production across the continent. Ethiopia, across number of years, less than 10 years, created approximately around 18 or 19 special economic zones and industrial park. Not randomly, they created based on the comparative advantage what Ethiopia had.
In 2018 alone, Ethiopia's industrial parks have generated $103 million from exports. That figure is 40% up from the previous year. The specialized industrial parks, which follow the Chinese similar development model, are engaged in textile and garment, pharmaceuticals, as well as agro-processing sectors.
The industrial parks development in Ethiopia is bringing huge economic transformation to the country. But its success for Ethiopia can also be a great example and motivator for Africans to pursue industrial development for their respective countries.
Due to its state-of-the-art industrial parks and overall economic growth of the country, which stood around 8.5% last year and around 10% for many years before that, Ethiopia is assumed to be the China of Africa. The African Union also believes Ethiopia is well on track to achieve its industrial ambitions.
Ethiopia is moving very well on the industrial development. And industry is a more complicated rather than any other sector. So many issues needed to really support the industry to come out at the end for developing industry. I believe Ethiopia is doing in parallel developing this issue.
The Chinese influence in the Ethiopian economy is multifaceted. From direct investment to knowledge and skills transfer, Chinese companies and businesses are leaving a lasting impression into Ethiopia's journey to a much higher economic height. Group Dara CGTN, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
An event was also held in Kenya to mark the 70th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China. Chinese ambassador to Kenya, Wu Peng, said his country is willing to share its development outcomes with the rest of the world. TGTN's Robin Nagila has that report.
Members of the diplomatic corps, government officials and invited guests gathered at the Chinese embassy in Nairobi on Thursday evening to mark the 70th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China.
Chairman Mao solemnly declared to the world the founding of the People's Republic of China. Since then, China truly became an independent nation, just like the Madarika Day for our Kenyan brothers and sisters. This day marked the historic moment we became our own master, and China embarked on a new journey.
Since embarking on landmark reforms in the late 70s, China has emerged from isolation to become one of the most powerful nations in the world. President Xi Jinping has increased the country's footprint globally through trade and culture, and nowhere is that more apparent than in Africa, where China is the continent's largest trading partner.
In 2018, China's GDP reached 13.6 trillion US dollar, 174-fold increase since 1949. Under the leadership of the Communist Party of China, the Chinese people, united as one, are striving to move forward from poverty and weakness to prosperity and strength. We have created miracles one after another in human history.
An exhibition charting China's journey to the present was on display at the embassy. October 1st will mark the start of a week-long national holiday in China, one of the country's 2 Golden Week vacations when tourist sites across the country will be packed. Robert Nagila, CGTN, Nairobi, Kenya.
Well, it's time now for us to take a short break and return. More stories making headlines, including A look inside UN summer clubs for Libyan children whose learning was disrupted by conflict. And 2 entrepreneurs introduce a multifunctional prosthetic arm to save costs for amputees.
At the Great Wall of China. 你好。
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Welcome back. You're watching Africa Live. Well, a United Nations Special Rapporteur has advised Zimbabwe's government against using military forces to respond to protests. Clement Vol added the government should engage with the opposition to address the economic and social issues causing public demonstrations. Vol made his recommendations at the end of his visit to the country.
Scenes that grabbed international headlines and put Zimbabwe in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. The United Nations dispatched its own representative on a fact-finding mission to assess the human rights situation in a country that's recently witnessed a series of civil protests that have been met by a heavy security response.
Due to the current economic situation, the country is facing mass striking appears to be taking place regularly in the country. However, reaction taken by authority do not appear to be in line with their constitution and international commitments. I have perceived that the use of military forces has a profound negative impact, including in the mind of the population, who fear these forces are not adequately trained to handle demonstration.
This was the first visit to Zimbabwe by an independent human rights expert. The Southern African nation has sought to rebuild its battered human rights image by lifting restrictions on demonstrations and opposition political rallies. However, Vule says there's more work needed to diffuse what he termed a toxic and polarized environment.
I also see and also hear the cry of communities for transparency, for fighting against corruption, for a fair distribution of resources. And I also hear the commitment of the government to really challenge some of these issues, to really mitigate those issues, to really bring hopes for Zimbabwe. And I think for me it's the time, both for the opposition, for the ruling party, for community to sit down and have a dialogue, and also to sit down to discuss about the social issues.
During the 10-day visit, Vule met government officials, leaders of the opposition, labor unions, and civic society. On Friday, he presented his preliminary findings and is due to table his final detailed report and recommendations to the United Nations Human Rights Council at its next session in June 2020. Farai Mwakutuya, CGTN, Harare, Zimbabwe.
Meanwhile, in Libya, the ongoing assault on the capital Tripoli has disrupted schools. But summer clubs organized in 2 municipalities are giving children the chance to continue learning through the conflict. CGTN's Daniela Pearson reports.
Nothing seems out of the ordinary in this Libyan classroom. But not far beyond these walls, the battle for control of the capital Tripoli has been raging for almost 6 months. Halima al-Miladi is sending her 7-year-old son here over the summer break to keep him distracted from the fighting.
I pushed my son to participate in the summer club to keep him away from the pressures of what the country is going through in general, and also because it will be beneficial for him. He'll be able to occupy his time with something useful.
The children are affected by what is happening, and through these games we have tried to integrate them, and they have improved.
Many classes this year have been disrupted by the conflict. School buildings have been repurposed as shelters for thousands of displaced people, but it's left children with nowhere to go.
Why the summer holiday? Due to the current circumstances in Tripoli, recreational places were limited for children and they found themselves with a lot of free time while at home.
The summer program is run by the United Nations across 2 municipalities. But the teachers are also giving donations to the clubs.
The support was from the teachers because the club is for free, and the teachers provided breakfast along with visits, excursions and entertainment programs inside and outside the school.
These summer clubs are located in the center of Tripoli, which is calmer than the south. There are now about 1,000 children who come to play and to learn. Daniela Pearson, CGTN.
Well, there are over 20 million people living with disabilities in Nigeria. One of them is a 41-year-old Solomon Umude, who has managed to overcome the physical and social barriers. He runs a car upholstery business in Benin City. Here's Deji Badmus with his story.
Arriving at his roadside workshop to begin the day's work. This has been Solomon Umude's daily routine for over 10 years now. He's the embodiment of human determination and grit, never letting his physical limitation stand in his way. Golden Boy, as he's fondly called, Solomon runs his upholstery shop in the heart of Benin City, in the southern part of Nigeria, specialized in vehicle interior upholstery. Solomon became crippled from the waist down at the age of 7 after receiving an intravenous injection intended to treat malaria. After struggling to complete his primary school education, he decided to look for opportunities outside formal education, and that led him to learning car seat upholstery. And after his apprenticeship, he set out on his own.
It's when I went to start, you understand me now. So some of my colleagues that I know in my church, that's where I get support. Then maybe I have support again. It went by, I wanted to go and borrow some money in First Bank.
With that startup capital, he delved fully into his art. Years after, the business has grown. He now has 5 persons working for him and has trained so many others who have gone up to set up on their own.
I'm okay. If I want to feed my family, pay my children's school fees, do 1 or 2 things, get my own car, you understand? And I'm into building now. So by the grace of God, I will get there.
He's clearly risen above his physical challenge and has made it a duty to inspire his apprentices, some of whom are also living with disability.
If you know where you are going to, focus. You know what I mean? If you want to learn anything at all, focus. Go for that thing. You can't say because you are physically challenged. Even able person, if you don't have something doing, you are physically challenged. Like me, I don't look myself as physically challenged because I can drive. I can do whatever my mates can do, able to do. You understand me? So I don't look, even though you come here, you physically, I don't look at that down.
As the business continues to grow, Solomon says there's one thing he needs from the government to enable him scale bigger. It's actually not money.
I don't need anything from them more than lights. Do you understand me now? Like running this place now, for instance, I'm supposed to have 40,000 a month to run this my business. If I'm supposed to have 40,000, about 20,000 or 25,000 is going for only fuel. It's going for gen, running of the gen. And if I put up those one together, you know what I mean? I say maybe between 1 year, if I have a constant light between 1 year, put those money together, I know that my business will grow tremendously.
Despite the electricity challenge, Solomon's Solo Gold and Upholstery is still thriving. It now attracts clients from outside of its base. And like he's overcome his disability, Solomon says he would not allow the lack of electricity slow him down. Deji Badmos, CGTN, Benin City, Nigeria.
Well, a prosthetic can be a life-changing moment for an amputee, with prices ranging from $6,205 to $12,410 in the UK. A prosthetic can be out of reach for some. Well, a pair of British entrepreneurs have created an adjustable and cheaper option. Let's take a look.
For fewer than $622, an amputee can purchase a mid-wearables prosthetic. The lower cost is achieved by creating a multi-tool style arm. Users can use different attachments depending on the task. Its adjustability is suitable for children, so that parents will not have to regularly spend money on replacements.
Because children are growing at such a high rate, every 2 to 3 months they'd have to get refitted. So with our device, because it's a flexible socket and you can loosen the boa fasteners as well, you can wear it for a longer period. And obviously with a high-tech device that has sensitive electronics, you can't take that through the dirt, the sandbox, the mud. So something that is life-proof and simple to use, simple to wear.
Ben Lakely and co-founder Nate McCobb started developing the technology while studying at London's Imperial College. With the help of volunteers like Alex Witt, they've been holding trials for the past 2 years. Alex contracted a streptococcal infection in 2013. What started as flu-like symptoms ended with him needing a triple amputation.
I just think that the concept is brilliant. I think the product is brilliant. And for an arm amputee, as I say, in the UK, there's not many of us. But the global impact on this for children and amputees globally is huge. It will be huge.
Beyond the UK market, MIT Wearables hopes to take its technology to other parts of the world. The pair hopes the technology will help developing or war-torn countries with a high rate of amputees.
So as big of the issue is here with people not getting something that can help their day-to-day lives, there's people out there, a lot of people with nothing at all. Yeah. And that's what really excites us, that this is something that can be scalable to them and hopefully help them out one day.
For now, Ben and Nate plan to make their prosthetic available to buy in Europe next year. Customers will be able to purchase it online rather than through healthcare professionals. Astatal, CGTN.
Well, your business news is up next with Uche.
Thanks, Anna. And coming up on Africa Live Bits. Billions still held in old currency notes in Kenya ahead of Monday's demonetization deadline. And Nigeria allowed to seek to overturn a ruling that gave away its assets worth $9 billion.
It is China time. Against the odds, the People's Republic of China was founded 70 years ago. Since then, it has aspired for change, both at home and abroad. What is driving this endeavor, and how has it managed to evolve with the times? We will look back. And in a new era, the nation is forging new missions and visions. We will look ahead. Tune in to our exclusive coverage of the 70th anniversary of the People's Republic of China.
I've learned how to code in a simple way.
Together with other young people, we're able to make this difference.
Africa is the nexus of enterprise, and global business will tell you why it matters.
From the mega investment projects to multi-billion-dollar mergers and acquisitions.
Africa today collects, just in terms of revenues from taxes alone, $545 billion a year. If you take 10% of that and you devote it to the energy sector, problem solved.
All this on Global Business, weekdays at this time on CGTN.
Business in Africa is at the crossroads, where opportunity meets innovation, where profitable new markets collide with global trends. From the sound of an African bell on a stock market's floor, to the shout of the trader in a bustling free market. It's colorful, vibrant, and exotic. CGTN stands at the gateway to Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. From Morocco to South Africa, we talk to the deal makers and actors who fuel its engines of growth. Only on CGTN.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Well, let's start off in Kenya, where a lot of businesses have stopped accepting the high denomination old currency 1,000 shillings notes ahead of its demonetization deadline on Monday, September 30th. Now, the Kenyan Central Bank made the announcement in June in a move seen as cleaning the system of illegally acquired money. Here's CGTN's Terry Wangari with more.
Kenya's central bank governor, Patrick Njoroge, displays Kenya's new currency notes. The money came into circulation on June 1st, 2019 and replaces portraits of the country's former presidents as required by a constitution passed in August 2010. While a lot of the old currency will circulate alongside new notes, the old 1,000 shilling denomination note ceases to be legal tender on September 30th this year.
There were two reasons, principal reasons. The first is to deal with the illicit financial flows that we have seen. The second is to deal with counterfeits that have begun to emerge.
What we've had in the country is obviously a lot of this money flying around the system. It's corrupt money, it's been running around in gunny sacks, it's been flowing around the system illegally. And I think this is an attempt to formalize the economy and gain better control over money circulation in the economy. And therefore I think it will be effective. And, there'll be some losers, but those losers got this money easy come, easy go.
In June, the central bank said that there were roughly 218 million 1,000 shilling notes in circulation. About half of that has so far been changed, giving indications that the system could have been cleaned off of a lot of dirty money. But not without mischief.
If you look at these car dealerships, if you look at the central bank governor himself spoke about people buying cows as a way of laundering money. There are many methods that people have been using for laundering money in this economy.
This is a matter of national importance. This is a matter of national security, meaning it is important for us to see that we are doing this in order to deal with prospective problems that would jeopardize our way of life.
Since the demonetization announcement, the Kenya shilling has lost more than 2% of its value to the US dollar. The shilling is currently trading at 103 shillings and 92 cents per dollar. The central bank governor, however, says that the weakness is not linked to invalidation of the 1,000 shilling note. Terry Wangari, CGTN.
And moving on now, a UK judge has allowed Nigeria to seek to overturn a ruling that would have allowed a private firm to seize more than $9 billion in assets from the country. Now, the judge also granted Nigeria's request for a stay on any asset seizures while its legal challenge is still pending. However, the country must pay about $200 million to the court within the next 60 days in order to ensure the stay. Process and Industrial Developments had sued Nigeria over a failed gas project in the country. Then on August 16th, a decision by a London court converted the $9 billion arbitration award to a legal judgment. Now, Nigeria's appeal of this decision, called a set-aside, would need to prove there was an error in the ruling. And the International Monetary Fund says that Zimbabwe needs to intensify its efforts on economic and political reforms in order to win confidence of the West. Now, President Emmerson Mnangagwa's government faces a growing chorus of criticism over its commitment to reform as it seeks a lifting of sanctions on the country. Opponents of the president say the government has failed to implement political reforms, including amending security and media laws. The Southern African nation is feeling the effects of a drought that has hit its crops and electricity generation. Soaring prices and shortages of foreign currency and fuel have also sparked anger amongst its people. Now, the government has, however, taken steps to relaunch the Zimbabwean dollar after a decade of dollarization, amongst other reforms. Financial policymakers say these could lay the foundations for future growth. And to Senegal now, the country has kicked off the emergence of the Rural World Through Development exhibition in the capital, Dakar. Now, it is a 2-month event supported by the Shanghai Academy of Fine Arts in partnership with Senegal's Museum of Black Civilizations in order to encourage the sharing of skills. Senegal's Minister of Culture, Abdoulaye Diop, notes that Senegal needs new skills to build its cities as migration to urban areas increases. Now, Senegal and China plan a project of academic cooperation, which is focused on the research and the digitalization of the country's heritage.
The People's Republic of China has been able to develop its countryside by preserving its culture. We can do it too, and that is the main message of this exhibition. It's an example that can inspire us, even if we have to do it by ourselves.
We wish this exhibition can help China and Senegal think about the common rural problems in the process of developing, especially in the field of rural revitalization and rural heritage protection.
Meanwhile, a Chinese-run project in Burundi's Gihanga province is helping rice farmers there to maximize their yields. Now, thanks to the increased harvest, the farmers can now afford better lifestyles and contribute to the country's quest for food sufficiency. While CGTN's Daniel Arap Moy takes us through how the project has helped revolutionize the lives of farmers involved in the project.
It's a new dawn for Alice. The construction of a new house is almost complete. A few yards away, Charles tends to his cattle, a project that runs simultaneously with the construction of his new house. Both have their new homes thanks to a Chinese project that helps rice farmers in Burundi boost their yields.
Before I joined this project, I lived in an old house. But now I've been able to construct a new house and purchased cows. I'm also able to take my children to school.
We get more harvests compared to back then, and that is why I have managed to make progress in life. As you can see, I have a new house even though I have not completed its construction. I also have 4 children in private schools. Some are almost finishing primary school now.
The rice farmers have learned better farming techniques. From planting to harvesting, the Chinese experts guide the farmers throughout the season.
The project is in this village.
For the project in this village, we began in 2008, and now, 2 years on, we have cultivated 92 hectares.
Now, 2 years.
The Chinese experts provide the local farmers with hybrid seeds, which perform better than indigenous ones.
Haven't enough food to eat.
Through our project, the rice production has more than doubled, and the net profit is 5 times more than before.
Production.
I urge the Chinese team to go beyond Burundi and into Africa because other countries need the knowledge too.
Not only does the rice project provide Burundi with a solution to food sufficiency, it also stands as a mark of a strong China-Burundi cooperation. Daniel Arap Moy, CGTN.
Well, that's all for now on Africa Live Biz, but coming up later on Global Business Africa, we'll be delving further into Zambia's plan to import electricity from South Africa. Of course, all that coming up at the top of the hour. For now, back to you, Hannah.
Thank you so much, Uche. Well, we are going to take a short break, but we have more stories for you. Here's what you can expect. The quest to uncover the most popular street delicacies across Africa takes us to Uganda and Tunisia.
Join us in Global Business and see Africa through our eyes. The greatest journeys, the greatest sights, the greatest adventures.
Here in Qanater, this weir allows the locals to walk on water.
We're far more than just TV news. We're your passport to the wonders of Africa.
To bring you stories of struggle, survival and hope.
So let's explore. CGTN. See the difference.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Welcome back. You're watching Africa Live. Well, let's now turn our continuing focus on favorite snacks across Africa. The fast food craze is popular in Uganda, but there's one snack that ranks highest in demand. The Rolex, a combination of eggs, flatbread, and vegetables, is almost everybody's daily meal. And as Leon Seanga reports, it's also changing the lives of vendors as well.
The bread, eggs, onions and tomatoes, the perfect recipes for what Ugandans call the Rolex. Bashir Bulaya has been making this street food for 6 years now.
A friend of mine taught me what to do. When I learned how to make the Rolex, I was even able to go to Sudan and start a Rolex business there.
A Rolex here costs between 50 cents to $1. The earnings, Bashir says, has provided him a good income.
I have been able to build a house in my village. I even own cows. I also want to live better here in Kampala.
The Rolex was introduced here about 15 years ago. Thousands of stalls have opened up around town and beyond, making this fast food easily available in Uganda. The Rolex is the quick fix for breakfast, lunch, or even a late night meal. It is the pick up and go kind of snack and almost everyone's favorite. And there is every reason why.
Everything in the Rolex is nice. I like the fried carrots, the raw tomatoes, the onions. It's so delicious.
I actually call it African pizza. It's very tasty, combined with the eggs, the proteins. Yeah, it's really very, very nice.
There's even a festival to celebrate the delicacy, where thousands attend. But every day on the streets, the Rolex remains the perfect treat to keep one going. Leon Senegal, CGTN, Kampala, Uganda.
Well, in North Africa, another snack is also very popular in 24 regions across Tunisia. The centenary recipe, which is made of vegetables, olive oil, and tuna, is a favorite snack for millions of Tunisians. CGTN's Edna Shuashi has that report.
Semi is a 30-year-old cook and snack owner. He learned this Hanatunsi recipe from his mother at home before opening his business in the suburbs of the capital city Tunis. Semi serves over 1,000 plates per day from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m.
I make my own salad with all seasonal vegetables, tuna, olives and fries. The quality is guaranteed. It's prepared in less than 2 minutes, but it gives energy for the whole day.
The ingredients have not changed over the past 100 years. Some people eat this Hanatunsi every day before the lunch break.
This snack is tasty and healthy. I cannot concentrate at work if I don't eat this purely Tunisian plate. I like it when it's spicy. That's how we eat food in Tunisia.
Many customers, especially civil servants, come from far away to eat at Sami's.
I like this snack because I don't have to worry about quality. This is my daily routine.
I'm never fed up of this Tunisian food.
Over the past 8 years, the 50% rise in the price of vegetables, oil, tuna and other ingredients did not prevent this snack owner from serving his favorite street food, or even deter Tunisians from eating sahane Tunsi. Sami's brothers plan to open new branches of their local snack in other neighborhoods of the capital city, Tunis. People here say that selling food, especially sahane Tunsi and other traditional food, is the only lucrative business in the country. Adnan Shawishi, CGTN, Tunis.
Well, the People's Republic of China and the Republic of Kiribati have resumed diplomatic relations. State Councillor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi signed a joint communique between the People's Republic of China and the Republic of Kiribati on restoring diplomatic relations in New York with the President and the Foreign Minister of the Republic of Kiribati. The two governments agreed to develop friendly relations between the two countries on the basis of mutual respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity, mutual non-aggression, non-interference in each other's internal affairs, equality and mutual benefit, and peaceful coexistence. The government of the Republic of Kiribati recognizes that there is only one China in the world. The government of the People's Republic of China is a sole legal government representing the whole of China. Taiwan is an inalienable part of Chinese territory. The government of the Republic of Kiribati immediately severed diplomatic relations with Taiwan and promised not to have any official relations with Taiwan and not to conduct any official exchanges. Well, it's now for us to take a short break. When we return, we're going to have your sports news, including the Doha 2019 IAAF World Championships kickoff with Qatar promising a memorable track and field showpiece.
Africa, where champions are made, records are broken, legends are born. We're there for every goal, for every knockout, for every step of the way. Match Point, only on CGTN.